Welcome to Hats On.
Hi, welcome to Hats On. I'm Laia, and this podcast exists because women wear more hats than anyone can see. The ones they chose, the ones they were handed, and the ones they had to figure out in the middle of a situation nobody prepared them for. My guest today is someone who has crossed a very significant distance, not just geographically. She grew up in India with all the expectations and love and particular weight that comes with that. She got married through an arranged process, and she followed her husband to Germany. She had her daughter in Germany, and while she was on maternity leave, holding a newborn in a new country that wasn't her own, far from her family, the company she worked for went bankrupt. She's now working full time remotely as a client partner manager for an Indian company from Germany with a 3-year-old, and she's managing a dual career, two cultures, the expectations of the place she came from, and the reality of the place she is in right now. I'm so glad she's here today to talk about all of this. Welcome, Akshaya.
Thank you so much, Naya, for having me here today.
I'm looking forward. So let's start from the beginning. Tell me about where you grew up and what your life looked like as a girl.
So, yeah, like you said, I grew up in India and I come from a city called Chennai, which is the south of India. Life growing up, I would say that definitely I came from a place of privilege. When I say that, it's because I was given everything that I asked for, and it was a perfect life that I had. But now, being an adult, and when I look back, I feel that I was kept in a cocoon, just protected, and I felt that that did not really work in my favor. So yeah, that's how it was growing up as a girl in India.
And what did your parents want for you on education, career, marriage, motherhood? And how much of it was actually negotiable within this cocoon you
Uh,
were telling us?
yeah, very honestly, I don't think none of it was negotiable. My parents wanted me to have that basic education, to have a degree, definitely. When it came to career, to be very honest, they didn't really expect much from me because for them, that's because it's the culture that they grew up in. And for them, it was just about like, okay, fine, just get a basic education, get married, and have a family of your own. And that was success for them. And in these terms, none of it was negotiable. When it came to career, I wanted it more importantly for myself because I am someone who is ambitious and who's independent. So I had to really fight my way to get the career that I wanted. So, yeah.
And how did it feel trying to find your way, fighting, as you were saying, through this career? What it felt like?
It was definitely difficult because I did my bachelor's in India and I did really well. So I remember when I just passed out of school, I realized, okay, I need to really perform well for me to be able to, because my mom gave me an option. Either you do well in life and then we let you be, or you just get married after school. So that was the option. And that kind of shocked me because all of a sudden, like I said, I was in this cocoon and then this topic of marriage came up and I'm like, what? What are you even saying? And I was like a very, very small girl. So that kind of like freaked me out. And that stress itself made me do well in my undergraduation. And I kind of like had to show them, prove to myself. And I did really well. And then they asked me like, okay, what do you want to do next? And I want to get out of the country because I wanted to get out of that cocoon that I was in, be able to be independent. And for me to get out of the country to do my master's degree, that, I had to really prove myself and fight for it. And then, of course, in fact, my parents like supported that very honestly, financially as well. I was given that support, but, at least with terms of like to prove, I had to do that. And then come back for my career as well, they didn't really care much. Again, my dad was just very honestly shocked, like, oh, why do you need to work? Aren't you living happily in my house? That was exactly the question that he asked. And, he just didn't like the idea of his princess working under someone because my dad has a business of his own. And he was like, oh, just come to me and, like, I'll give you something to work. And I knew if I did that, I was never going to be taken seriously. So even in that way, I think I remember my dad and I having an argument, and it just lasted for weeks. And I still went ahead, attended interviews, got a job, and I could see that they were just unhappy throughout. They didn't really care for promotions or anything. So every victory or every downturn, I had to deal it myself. So yeah.
Wow, and you proved the point by far. And now, maybe looking back, you are a mother as well yourself. How do you feel about what they expected and having your own daughter? Have it seen a change of perspective of their choices they made for you?
See, definitely now that I'm a mother, I can understand the choices that they made because they just wanted me to protect from the world outside. And also, there was a lot of cultural influence as well because the generation that they are in as well, that's how they were brought up too. So I understand now after being a mother, but do I agree to it? Definitely not. And now having Adya, all that I want to give her is that freedom and independence. And in fact, I have so much of ambition for her. I'm already thinking that, she could even be probably an astronaut to go to the moon, and I would back her up for that. Like the sky is not the limit for her, So in that terms, yeah, I do not agree after being a mother myself.
There's understanding but not agreement. And I think that's very powerful from a journey perspective. And your daughter super lucky. And then throughout that, there came the marriage. And as well, I guess there was a cultural element to that, which I want to ask you. So your marriage was arranged. So I want to understand what that actually looked like for you, the specific experience. How did that work?
So this is for your listeners who are not from India. So just wanted to put a disclaimer that it's extremely common to have this arranged marriage set up in India. So for me as well, again, because my parents are very traditional when it came to their mindset, right? So from a very, very young age, I knew that this was the way I'm going to find my husband because I wouldn't even bother getting into a relationship because I knew I would have to fight for it, or it was just too much of a stress for me to even think about that. So I just focused on my education, I just focused on my career. Of course, I did date just to get the experience of it, very honestly. But if it had to come to a level where it was a serious thought, I never even went that direction now because I knew arranged marriage is the way to go for me. So the experience, because for me, again, it was a new experience and I was just thrown out to the world, just declared to the world. Now my daughter is of a marriageable age and they just like let out to their connections and to just talk to strangers and being evaluated or being judged, right? Straight up by guys. I was just being judged and the rejections as well. It kind of took a, a turn for me. I mean, it kind of like, how do I say, it kind of affected my confidence a lot because, yeah, here's the stranger just judging me, right? And also saying no after getting to know me. And I would think, oh, what's wrong with me? Yeah, it would really affect my confidence. But then when I met Darshan, my husband, he was so kind and he was very respectful of the time I gave him. So, in fact, after 5 days of speaking to him, he just said, yeah, I want to marry you. And for me, that was a shock because here I was talking to guys who were just dragging it for months and months together just so that they could have someone, to talk to who would just take the whole situation to their advantage. And then this guy here in 5 days, I think it was less than 5 days, I want to marry you. My first question was like, really? What made you say that? Like, tell me more. That was really my question. So that was my experience. And in fact, right from the very beginning, when I met Darshan, we just knew, both of us just knew, we want to get married to each other. So it was, at the end, it was beautiful. Of course, so here I am.
Wow, it ended up being love at first sight, very powerful. And it's really interesting, as you said, it's really common in India. And I think success rate actually is really high of arranged
Yeah.
marriages. For someone with a Western mindset, it does shock us a little bit. So, what were you actually feeling going in? So, you felt the rejection part, but going in, what was inside you? It's like, I'm meeting a guy and might be my husband. So, how did you approach it?
It was not easy, and at least in this way, again, when it came to my parents' support, they completely agreed to the choice that I made. So if I say no to someone, it's a no, and if I said yes, okay, fine. In that way, at least they were supportive of that. So it was win-win in some ways. So I made sure, at least, my decision was really strong, and I just don't like say yes very easily as well. And yeah, it was definitely a lot of emotions because there were tears for sure. And when it came to a point where when I met Darshan, I was just done. I didn't want to meet any more guys because I was just. This was after I think 3 years of being in this setup, and in fact, I clearly remember when Darshan's sister contacted my dad. I'm like, no, I do not want to talk to any more guys. Just leave me alone. And my dad had to just keep asking. They're calling us and they're asking, are you interested? So what do I tell? And then finally, I'm like, okay, fine. Like let me just talk. So that's how my emotions were. But yeah, like I said, after I spoke to him, it was completely different.
And definitely, he's glad that you took that call finally. And just a last question before we go into the marriage. Did you have a say on the shortlist in a sense of the candidates, or was it the family, as you said, from connections? How did they get to find you in a sense?
So it was just through connections, and one family would let the other family know, and it's just like this whole kind of a tree of sorts, like getting into deep into the family. I met people who apparently were my family members. I had no idea that they even existed. So it was like that. That's how, and word just spread, and yeah, someone knew Dashin's family, and yeah.
And luckily, you got to meet him, and now you are both in Germany because I understand he was in Germany at the time, so you moved
Yeah.
with him. And I wanted to understand what is the marriage like, and how do you think the way it started has shaped what it became?
So the way it started definitely was good. Darshan was extremely supportive, and he understood that it would be difficult for me to move from a country like India, and especially in Chennai. You're just surrounded with people, you're surrounded with buzz. And then I moved to a small city here in Germany, in the north of Germany, in Braunschweig, and he gave me that time to adjust as well. He was extremely supportive, and whatever help he provided, he did that. But it was difficult. It was definitely not easy at all. Like I said, I moved to a very small city, and I experienced a massive cultural shock because when I decided, okay, I'm going to marry Darshan and I'm going to move to Germany, I really didn't know much of Germany. In fact, when he told me that he worked for Huawei, that was when I knew, oh, Huawei is from Germany. Okay, it's a German company. That's how limited my knowledge was. And but then I thought, how difficult could it be, right? Because I have traveled the world, and I lived in the UK as well for my studies. So I have adjusted to different cities and met a lot of different people as well along the way. So it's not going to be that difficult, but I was definitely wrong. And now, of course, having Adya like any other couple, it's a new life again for us as well, right? To navigate this new title of being parents too. So that would take a toll on couples as well, because all day in and day out, you're only discussing about your kid and never about oneself. So yeah, we are learning to make it different, and we are working again hard to try to understand each other and be there for each other.
Definitely a learning process for all the couples going through. And you were mentioning about Germany and landing into this country and this small town. So, what did that surprise you the most about Germany, about the people, how they lived, or how did they relate to each other?
What really surprised me was the language because, I mean, of course, I've been to European countries as a tourist, right? So, never really looked from a resident perspective. So, for me, when I got into Braunschweig, and the first thing I remember, we went to a restaurant and I looked at the menu card and not a single word in English. And for me, that shocked me. And I remember the most difficult thing for me was having to expect my husband to help me order food, like, at the restaurant because I'm a foodie and I hated that. He would not explain to me the way I would want to be explained. And then when I get the food in front of me, I would just hate it and I would be so disappointed and so angry. It's so simple, but that's why it all started for me because I'm like, what is this? Like, I can't even enjoy a meal outside. So, in fact, the first thing I did was learn menu cards, different dishes, like the name of fruits and vegetables. So I understand I can independently order food. Again, it's so silly, but for me at that time, it was a big deal. And language was definitely a biggest cultural shock for me. I knew I had to really up my game in that. Even now, I'm not perfect, but at least I can survive if you just let me be alone. So I remember I had situation as well. I think I was just 6 months into living in Germany, and I had this kind of skin allergy all of a sudden. I had to visit the dermatologist. Dashen told the doctor that my wife is new to Germany and she really can't understand German, but it would be great if you could talk to her in English so that she can sort of explain the symptoms better to you and she's at peace. You will not believe what the response was. Like the doctor said, I know English, but I'm not going to talk to you in English. It's her responsibility to know German. And for me, that's when I realized, okay, I cannot be in this bubble. This is how it's going to be. And if I have to survive, I have to know the language. So yeah, now I can like just vomit words, at least like try to make my point clear in that way possible, because it's going to take years and years and years to be able to learn the language and to be perfect at it. So yeah, that was the biggest challenge for me.
Wow, and what a response. And you had your daughter in Germany, so I guess motherhood, going to the whole delivery in Germany and the whole experience of motherhood is very different than I believe in India. What are the differences that hit you the hardest?
Um, Honestly, now even if after going through the experience of giving birth in Germany, if you gave me an option, would you want to do it in India or Germany? I would definitely choose Germany for sure, without doubt, because I felt, see, as the first line of immigrant, I had no family, no one to guide us or support us, right, in this journey. And it was Darshan and me trying to figure out the system, how it works and everything. So it was definitely difficult, but once we really understood it, everything just worked perfectly fine. Even with regards to my maternity leave period, I wouldn't get that anywhere else because in that way it was really beneficial for me. But I felt for me, what was a shock was because back in India, at least maybe I'm wrong, I don't know for sure, but the gynecologist who would take care of you throughout your pregnancy would be the one giving birth to the kid as well. So, the gynecologist would know your whole history and would know you, and at least that's how it was for my mom. But here I was told, yeah, when you're ready, you just have to contact nearby hospitals and whoever has a spot available, you would get into that. And that freaked me out, thinking how would we be in a mind frame to sit and call hospitals? And what if, they say no, where do we go? And that hospital is too far. And when it's your first child as well, you just don't know when you're ready. Like, am I ready now? Or am I going to give birth now? Or is you just don't know, right? It's a new kind of experience. So that really scared us. But thankfully, everything worked in our favor again. So, and the care we got at the hospital as well was amazing. So, yeah.
Definitely different experiences in every country on that side. And then while you were on maternity leave in Germany, far from your family, with the newborn, your company went bankrupt. So I want to talk about that because you lost your a job. So what happened and what did you feel when you find out?
Uh, So this was, I think, 6 months. So they started to fire people while I was, I think, 8 months pregnant. So basically, everyone below me in my department and everyone above me was fired. I was not. Only because, of course, right, the rules, you cannot fire a pregnant lady. So I knew that, and that itself was kind of like affecting me. But I took it in a positive way. I was so glad that I was pregnant at that time. And I was just like celebrating my daughter even the more because I was like, oh my gosh, she's my lucky charm. But then I knew that it's going to be rocky. And 6, 7 months after giving birth to Adya, yeah, I think I lost my job. And honestly, at that time, I didn't really feel the burden of it because I was still in my maternity leave and money was coming in for at least couple more months. So I didn't really feel that pinch. But I thought, okay, let me figure it out. Like maybe 2, 3 months before my maternity leave ends, I will start searching for a job and let's see what happens. I was very open because I was also ready to focus on being a mother, take my time, soak it up and have all the time that I could have with Adya. So there was no pressure. But when it really hit me was few months after my maternity leave ended, and of course the money already had stopped coming in, and then I could see my resources depreciating, and that's when it started to stress me, and things were starting to get very expensive as well. So many uncertainties around you, so definitely that's when it hit me. And of course, again, me being ambitious and independent and being concerned about like, oh, what am I going to do with the no money? It kind of again started to stress me out. But luckily, I found my job, my new job, the current job that I am in. And again, it worked in my favor.
And this process, I guess you got some learnings as well about this experience. So, what would you say to a woman who is in a version of that situation right now, alone in a new foreign country with a young child and something going wrong or not expected? What tip or would you give her?
So I would definitely say not to have that self pity because that definitely needs to stop. And all these experiences that I've had, even postpartum, was never really easy for me. Being away from family, my pregnancy was perfect, but my delivery was very bad. It went the opposite of what I expected. I had an emergency C-section after 28 hours of labor, and I was told that my uterus was completely damaged and that I cannot think of having kids for the next 2, 3 years. And it was just difficult, my postpartum. And then I had family for 1 week after I came back from the hospital, but after that it was just me. And I remember I was just angry at everything. And now looking back, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, I did have some level of postpartum depression. And uh, one day I thought, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop with the self pity, thinking like, oh, no one is there to help me, or things could have been better for me, or anything of that sort. I just stopped one day and decided if I'm not going to change this attitude, then it's not good as a mother as well, and for Adya too. I wanted to have that beautiful memory to start off with itself, with my daughter. And so I stopped with the self pity, and I immediately got into the international mothers group, and that's where I met you as well, and that really helped me. Our walks to the park and things like that. So whatever we did, it really helped me calm myself, change my attitude, and then I hired a nutritionist, took care of my body, got better. So these were the steps that I did in whatever way possible. But I would really, I mean, it's the harsh truth. No one is coming to help you. You need to take care of yourself. You need to prioritize yourself. So this is something that I would advise another woman, and I would keep this in mind for myself too.
Definitely, we tend to forget ourselves. So a good reminder, excited there. And you were talking that you move on, you got your new job at where you are working right now, and you work full time remotely for an Indian company, but from Germany. And you're managing at the same time two cultural ones. So, what is the most invisible challenge of working remotely across cultures that maybe no one talks about?
Working now, I mean, it's not really difficult for me to handle an Indian team because I have worked in India before, so I know how it is, and I've worked in Germany as well, so I am able to balance. But what's really challenging is being a mother to a toddler, and to be able to juggle all of that, especially because you're working from home. Thank God. In fact, I wouldn't want it any other way because I'm working from home. I'm able to be flexible in whatever way possible, because otherwise I cannot even imagine. My husband has to go to office 2, 3 times in a week, and then I don't know. In fact, only now we have actually gotten a good kindergarten spot for my daughter. So we were somehow juggling between ourselves. So that's the biggest challenge for me. Yeah, it still is. I'm figuring it out from one like at a time.
Taking a step at a time. And
Yeah.
you mentioned your daughter throughout the conversation. So I wanted to ask you, what do you want your daughter to know about the choices you made, about following her father to Germany, about working, about all of it?
Is proud of me. That's always something that I keep in my mind because she's watching every step I take, and I really hope I would be a role model for her in the best way possible. Of course, in the process of not pressurizing myself, but yeah, one thing I would want to show her when she looks at me is to have that courage and strength to be I want her to be able to see that because that took a lot of, I mean, the experiences that I've had took a lot of courage and strength, and it was never easy. But in fact, I'm very proud of the person I am after giving birth to Adya, after being a mother. I've learned to be more patient and I've learned to respect myself. I, in fact, started to realize what my body could do. And I've started to respect myself and prioritize myself. All of this is what I hope for her to see.
Very nice. And our last two questions. So, if you
Of
were
course.
talking to your younger self, the one who just growing up in India, who hadn't still left the country, started her studies, what would you tell her?
I would really tell her not to care for anyone's validation because that's something very honestly that I seeked for, be it my parents or be it in work or anything for that matter. So, not to be a people pleaser. As you know, blunt as it is, I've learned it the hard way. And like I said, now I'm prioritizing myself for my well being, for my mental health, my physical health as well. So, yeah.
A very powerful lesson for all of us to prioritize yourself. And the last question. You wear many hats, and we've been talking about them, the woman who crossed the wall for her family, the mother, the Indian woman building a life in Germany. Which hat do you wear today with the most pride?
Definitely being a mother, 100%. Because for me, I could doubt myself in everything else that I do, but I am very confident and I truly believe that I'm a good mother because, with regards to the choices that I have taken, at least till now, and I know the choices that I will take will be for the betterment of the family and for Adya as well, and every decision too. So definitely a mother.
Very powerful. Thank you, Akshaya, for all of this, for sharing something that it's so layered, so personal, and so honest. I think a lot of
Thank you so
people
much.
are going to recognize themselves in your story, even if the details look completely different from their own. To everyone listening, if any of this landed for you, the part about moving countries for love and finding your own along the way, or about losing something important at the worst possible moment and having to rebuild, or just about what it costs to live between two cultures and love both, I hope you felt a little less alone in it today. Hats on. Until next time.
Guest opinions are their own and do not necessarily represent those of Hats On or its partners. This podcast is not a substitute for professional advice.